Hi everyone, and welcome to Read and Write with Natasha. I'm very excited to have with me author Ayodeji Awosika, right? Okay, I got
Yeah.
it. No. He is the author of two books, The Destiny Formula and You 2.0. His work has been read by hundreds of thousands of people, and he has been featured on top publications like the Business Insider, the Huffington Post, and Thrive Global. He also helps solopreneurs scale to 20K a month. Wow. I want to scale to 20K a month. But anyways, thank you so much for joining me today. I've been following your work everywhere on Medium, Substack, and I'm so excited for you to join. Thank you for accepting my invitation. So, I think first thing first is you have a very inspiring backstory, and I believe that's what inspired you to write these books. So if you can tell us, tell the audience, what are your books exactly about, and what do you have to achieve, or what's the message that you want to send?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think a lot of my books like center around the idea of like aligning with who you naturally are to figure out the kind of life you want to live, right? So like in the Destiny form,
Okay.
talk a lot about how to find your strengths, how to follow like your natural inclinations, the things that you have been drawn to for a very long time, and just kind of riding the wave of things that you're already kind of predisposed to doing so that you can accomplish the goals of like having passion and everything like that. It's like a lot of people are trying to find this perfect life or this perfect passion when really the reality is kind of you should find something that you have some sort of like natural level of competence in and then start building your life around that. And then that's how things get easier. That's how you get the career you want, how you have more confidence, how you build habits that spill over into like ancillary areas. Like for me, like writing was something that I knew I wanted to do from pretty much from like middle school. And I always kind of had like a talent for it, I guess you could say. And pretty much it wasn't until then that my life improved where once I found something that it was easier to stick with because I was naturally good at it. It was in line with what I really wanted to do instead of what society wanted me to do or what my parents wanted me to do. Then it became easy, right? So I pretty much before then I had been fired from like pretty much every job I ever had. I tried all these different ideas, businesses, little marketing schemes that never worked. But as soon as I found something that I was like predisposed to being good at, the habit stuck. And like I wrote one article like 9 years ago, and I've literally been writing every day since. Like I never, like from day one, I've never took a sustained break unless I was like sick. So I've been writing every day for almost a decade, and it's helped me helped me make a lot of money, helped me meet a lot of cool people, have an interesting lifestyle, don't have to work for anyone else, and it was all because I leveraged something that I was good at. And so like that's kind of the through line of like a lot of the different things that I write about is just mapping your world around to the way that you're kind of already wired instead of trying to fit yourself into a mold that's just not a good fit for you.
So you're pretty much living the dream that many, let's say, full-time writers want to live, right? You're or aspiring writers. You're pursuing your passion, and you're actually, making a good. From what I'm seeing, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Is you're making a good income, and you're helping other writers scale to 20K a month. So the idea of the starving artist, you definitely do not embody that. So, in a nutshell, what is your secret? What is the secret to your success that made you kind of defy the mold of the starving artist and live a comfortable life, pursuing a passion, the passion of writing, which traditionally is not a money-making career?
Great question. In two words, I would say sales and marketing. So there,
Mm,
I read this book. One of my favorite books of all time is called Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It sold like 32 million
yeah.
copies, right? And in the book, part of the book, he's like having a conversation with this woman. She's a writer, and she was asking him like how to become successful as a writer. And he went on to this like long like diatribe about how you need to learn marketing and sales so that you can promote your book, package it properly, do all things like that. She kind of scoffed and was like, yuck, like I'm a writer, like I'm not a marketer, I'm not, I'm not going to cheapen myself. And then he stopped and he said, it's called best selling author, not best writing author. So I think what
Mm,
a lot of people is they just want to write. They basically just
yeah.
want to write about whatever they want. They don't want to take into mind what the market is interested in. They don't want to take anyone else's views into account except for their own. They don't want to market their work. They don't want to promote themselves. They don't want to build an audience around what they're doing so they have eyeballs. They kind of just want to like sit in a corner and just write like these random essays and stories, and then like somehow they think like money and it's just gonna magically fall from the sky, and it's not that way. Like you have to be honestly pretty aggressive about promoting yourself, whether that's um publishing on different platforms to build an audience around your writing so that you can sell something like a book. So that means being on Substack, LinkedIn, Medium is where I really got my big break, right? You mentioned all these other different websites that I've syndicated my work on. So it really was me publishing stuff like all over the place and then building a tribe of people who liked my writing. Another key thing, getting people starting and growing an email list. Like I tell everyone who wants to make money pretty much doing anything online, like to start an email list, grow an email list. And the people who listen to me, so like some of my most successful students, the one who makes six figures, all that, they all just took my advice and they started building an email list, right? So the reason why the email is so powerful is because it's a place where you can kind of have like more direct communication with your audience. Like when you're on social media, when you're on Substack, like there's 9,000 different other writers flying across the feed where they could just see one of your posts and like just ghost, right? But on email, you could send it directly to them, and you can use your email list to like get your readers to know, like, and trust you more, and to do some of those persuasive things that get people to buy, like copywriting, like doing launches for your books, right? So like with each in terms of promotion, with each one of the books that I published. So my first book, I had no email list at all, and it was the least selling book. The second book, I had a couple thousand email subscribers, and I sent a fair amount of emails doing a promotion, right? So my third book, I had a much bigger email list. I sent a ton of emails. I provided bonuses if you bought during the launch week. And on the last day, I sent like 3, 4 emails, right? So some people don't understand, like especially let's say you're launching a book, launching a product, whatever. You might you might have to send 3, 4, 5, 6 emails on the launch deadline, and like people are really, I don't know if it's afraid or resistant to like promotion, but like the people I know who are most successful in online business, especially like in the creator thing, like you have to be a shameless promoter. You have to put yourself out there, like, because more and more people are creating content every day, and it's like if you're not frequent and top of mind, then you're just gonna be kind of left in obscurity. So you have to some degree, you have to play the game, right? So like you might want to have well crafted words, but like if you don't have a good headline that makes people want to click on the post, it doesn't matter what you wrote. If the title of your book doesn't make people curious about it, or the covers doesn't make people want to open it, like people judge books by their covers, right? All those sorts of things. Even if you want to get picked up by a publisher, a lot of publishers won't touch you unless you have an email list with 10, 20, 30,000 people on it, because they know that you, as the creator, as the writer, need to have like extra distribution, or else it's just going to be hard to get like copies of your book or your products or anything in front of people.
Um, I mean, I completely agree with what you said. I was one of the writers who made the mistake of I just wanted to write, leave me alone. And I mean, I suffered from that. Later in my game, I realized the importance of marketing. And I'm in a situation where I'm scrambling for marketing advice, right? Like if you see these books here, I'm trying to read books on marketing and for all creators. How did you teach yourself marketing? You're a writer, you don't have, I'm assuming you don't have a marketing background. How did you teach yourself marketing?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, a lot of different ways. Like One, even though I dropped out of school, I did go to school for marketing for a couple
I
years.
did. Okay.
I ended up dropping out, but there I actually worked in a marketing agency for 5 years. That was really helpful.
Mm.
Um, and so I worked inside of a business where we were doing work for clients like digital marketing stuff, social media, SEO, pay-per-click ads. Like I learned a lot just doing that. And then like as I was working there, it was like simultaneously where like I was working at this marketing agency and I was like starting to pick up with the writing thing. So like to get better at the job at the agency and for my business, I just started consuming like so much information, like a crazy amount of information. Like I have read hundreds of books, dozens of books on marketing, books on copywriting. I've taken courses on copywriting, courses on writing blogs, courses on how to write and market and publish your book, courses on how to scale your income with info products coaching, on how to become a coach, like everything you name it. I've always like had some sort of like mentor or piece of information I was consuming. But I think the difference is like I would actually just go use the information. Where I think a lot of people get stuck. They consume information, but like they don't use it. Right. So Alex Hormozy has a really good saying. He's like he defines he defines learning as a behavior change. Right. So like if you consume a piece of information and then you do not change your behavior as a result of that information, then you didn't learn anything. Right. So like if you read a book, let's say, for example, like there's a lot of freelance writers out there. Like maybe you read a book and the book tells you, hey, in order for you to get clients, you should do outreach and reach out to companies. Well, if you read the book, nod your head and say, oh, that sounds amazing, but you actually don't go do the outreach, you may as well have not have read the book. Like you
Mm.
gained as much value by not having read the book at all if you don't do what the things that are in the book. It's like the difference between like I feel like myself and others is if I read like something in a book and there's a tactic to implement, like I'm going to implement it. And
Mm.
I would read these different, like over time, like I would read different articles and it was like, oh, okay, do this, like practice how to write a headline. Here's some headline examples, practice writing them every day. And that's one of my first, like one of the first courses I took, one of the first guys I learned from was his name was John Morrow. He was like, if you want to get good at headlines, practice writing them every day. I've probably written like 20,000 headlines in my life. Right. I'll
Mm.
wake up every single day and actually do that. Right. So where people will tell me like, and I'll pass that information out. Well, hey, like you want to get better at writing headlines, practice writing headlines. And they say, I'm really struggling with my headlines. And I'm like, did you practice the headlines? I was like, well, no. I was like, well, okay, then how are you going to get better? And I think a lot of people in this creator economy, they just don't like, they literally, the threshold of like action and effort required of creators, like most creators fall not even a little bit below the threshold, but like well under the threshold, like extremely below the threshold, where it's like, if you want to get good at writing, you have to write like 100 blog posts before you're even like, before you like that, writing 100 blog posts gets you to the point where like you don't suck at writing anymore. And most people like, they write 5 blog posts, they're not getting millions of readers. They're getting mad at the algorithm. They're getting mad and saying it's not working. It's like, you're not doing the work. And I think that it's really a lack of implementation. A lot of people like to, because you get like dopamine spikes from learning things,
Mm.
right? When you
Yeah.
consume information, you're like, oh, I just learned this. I feel like I'm doing something. But then if you don't do anything with the information, like I said, it's like you may as well have not have done it at all. So I would tell people moving forward, like instead of reading 12 marketing books, read one marketing book 3 times in a row and do every single thing that book says, then move on to the next book.
Mm. What are your favorite marketing books?
I think for people who want to kind of monetize their knowledge, I would say Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson is a really good book.
Mhm.
It like walks you through step by step how to create a business that where you're sharing your knowledge with people, right? So like a lot of writers, they like monetizing by taking what they're writing about and turning it into like coaching programs and courses and stuff like that. Well, Expert Secrets is like the absolute blueprint to figuring out how to do that. So
Mhm.
X Secrets by Russell Brunson would be really good. Also would want to read some books about copywriting. Like you have to get good at copywriting is probably the most powerful skill for making money online, period. Like if you know how to write copy, like you'll never be broke. So I would say Advertising by Drew Whitman,
Mhm.
Copywriting Secrets by Jim Edwards, and Adweek Copywriting Handbook by Joseph Sugarman. Those are also good. So like if you just read like those books and then maybe like the other books in Russell Brunson's trilogy or .com Secrets, it teaches you how to build like sales funnels,
Sounds
Expo
nice.
Secrets, and then Traffic Secrets. You just read like those three books and like read like three copywriting books 3 times each and then implemented what they said and actually implemented what those books said, you'd end up being more successful than like most people on planet Earth when it comes to
Huh.
business. People don't people just don't need you got to implement the information that you read, right? So like if you're gonna read a book about a funnel, how to build a funnel, well then you have to actually go in and build the funnel. Like you have to go build the funnel. You have to if you read a book about here's how to write an email sequence, you then have to go and write the email sequence. If it says, all right, write these daily Seinfeld emails that tell a story and have a call to action at the end of them, you actually have to go out and write them and do that scene. Like if you read a book about how to go get leads and it says like, so for example, there's a book, $100 Million Leads, Alex Hormozy. Hormozy's books are pretty good too. Like he has a book on offers. But in the leads book, he was like, if you like, this is for like if you want to do a client based business, if you're doing freelancing, whatever it may be. He's like, if you want to get leads, you should spend 4 hours a day where all you're doing is outreach, sending DMs, sending emails, trying to get leads. The percentage of people who are actually willing to do that, based on my decade of experience, is probably less than 1%, and that's why they're broke. Because
Mhm.
most people don't want to do like most people just don't want to do the things that are required of them to build a business. And like you maybe buy a course from this person or you're reading about all the sexy creator economy stuff. It's like I've been doing this for 10 years almost. And I still don't feel like I know nearly enough or that my business is nearly where I want it to be. And I'm still working harder and putting more effort than some creators who are in the beginning of their journey. And they feel entitled to results they haven't earned. Right. So like Charlie Munger
Mhm.
has a great saying. He was like, to get what you want, you have to deserve what you want. Right. The world is not society is not a dumb enough place for you to just somehow get what you want without deserving it. And most people they just don't do what's required. And it can happen for you if you do the work. And also I would say like, if you want to get better at business, you have to get good at like reverse engineering what other people were doing and like and then like figuring and like backtracking and doing your own version of that. Right. So like a lot of people are like, how do I come up with a business idea? Go look at what businesses already exist and just copy one of them. Like that's the easiest way because like we're not trying to build, venture backed startups or anything like that. We're just trying to build like coaching businesses, client based businesses, service businesses. Like you can just clone that. Like you see someone else is doing a lead gen cold email agency, start your own and just be better at it than they are. You see somebody's coaching about relationships, do that, right? So like everything, the answers are already up there. Podcasts, what do the most successful podcasters do? I would
Mhm.
just watch their interviews or watch their whatever content they have about starting a podcast and just be it. And then after that, like you will begin to add some level of nuance that comes from your own personal experience and like your various sources of knowledge and information. But I would say it's just this the speed at which you execute new information will determine how long it takes you to be successful. And most people take forever to make decisions. And that's
Mhm.
why it takes them so long to get where they want to be.
So listening to you talk, I realize that you have a very special, highly driven mindset. How did you develop that? And when you say that some people refuse to do the work or are not willing to do the work, what made you have the mindset that you want to do that? What was the trigger?
That's a great question. I think that it comes from, I think it was because, again, like I mentioned earlier, when you find something that you're good at, you get a faster feedback loop, right? So like for me, what happened, and a good chunk of this could have just been blind luck, right? So like I wrote an article for my friend's website. It did pretty good. Uh, then I started finding other websites that I could post on. I started posting on Thought Catalog. One of the editors like took a liking to me and like started helping me with my writing. My articles were going pretty well over there. So it was like I was seeing feedback. I was seeing feedback that like what I was doing was getting results. And so it just motivated me to do the next thing. And then after that also it was just like I would also say a constant like brainwashing of myself like through personal development content, like constantly learning new things and just always like trying to feed my mind with new information and try to execute it. And then also I think like I feel like I came equipped with like a pretty I've always had like a natural disposition towards like being hyper ambitious. Like I'll admit
Mm.
like I feel like that was like part of that is just whatever genetic, whatever wherever it came from. But I feel like hmm, it kind of just like a perfect storm of like like all the ways I was predisposed to want to do things. It was like I probably wouldn't be as motivated if I was doing something else. Like, if I was being like building out some accounting firm, like I probably wouldn't work as hard at that. Right. So like the Naval Ravikant says, find work that feels like play to you. So then you can outcompete everyone. And I think that's been one of the keys. Like a lot of people when they're trying to build up a writing career, it feels like work to them. It doesn't feel like work to me. A lot of people struggle to write. I don't. A lot of people get writer's block. I've never experienced writer's block like once in my life. I've always just had things to say. Like I've always had things to do. So I think that's why I think it's so important to find that lane in your life that kind of fits who you are in your personality like a glove. Then it'll be easier for you. So another reason why I might be more motivated because I will admit it is way easier for me to write than I feel like it is for a lot of other people.
Mm. Interesting. Okay. So I'm gonna play the devil's advocate here, and I've been reading lately, and just some of the opinions of let's say the naysayers or whatever, and they're saying the creator economy is not gonna last; it's just a fad, and the majority of the let's say the solopreneurs they're gonna either realize that this is only the side hustle, it will never provide them with a full income, and eventually they're gonna pivot towards something else. So as a solopreneur, as someone who helps solopreneurs, do you think it's sustainable what you and me and others are doing?
I think that the creator economy, that solopreneurship, making money online is going to be distributed like everything else has been distributed on the planet Earth ever.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that if you look at the way that an economy works, a small percentage of people make most of the money. If you look at people who publish books, a smaller percentage of people get most of the results. So like the fact that most people don't succeed in the creator economy is no different than the fact that most people don't succeed at any kind of business. So it's not something that's unique to the creator economy. So yeah, most people are going to quit becoming creators and solopreneurs, just like most people start businesses and quit. just like most people who say they're going to get in shape and quit, just like most people who say that they're going to achieve their big goals and quit. I don't think it's a creator economy thing. I think it's a life thing. I think it's that the vast majority of people, not just in the creator economy, but in general, do not accomplish what they really set out to do with their life for whatever variety of reasons. And then there's that 20% of people who, through whatever mechanism, whether it's the way they're naturally disposed to wanting to do these things, something happens in their life that makes them just finally put their foot down. Maybe they find some piece of information, some content, something that clicks for them and things change. But it's like, this is just, Henry David Thoreau, I think his name is, he said, most people live lives of quiet desperation. It's like, it's living under your potential of what you want to be in life. For most people, it's the rule and not the exception. And so I think, like, if you want to, and I definitely saw myself that way too, when I would look up like around at other people, I always looked at myself as the exception to the rule, where I just felt like the attitude I kind of took was just like, why not me? Like everyone, like I see there's other people doing this and they're just human beings. Like, why can't I do it? And I just persisted enough and existed enough. But yeah, I mean, I make no bones about that. I've been doing this for 10 years at this point almost. Most people quit. Not only do they quit within not even months. It's like days to weeks. Most of the people that like take podcasts, I think they said there was like a statistic. Only, I think it was like less than 20% of podcasts make it more than like 90 days posting once a week. It's just the way of the world. So like, and I think that people who would say things like the creator economy is dead, they didn't want to do it anyways, and now they're looking to absolve themselves of responsibility for the fact that they just didn't do the work. They want to blame the mechanism. They want to blame the creator economy, when the fact is like the very definition that if other people are succeeding in the creator economy and you're not, does that mean there's something wrong with the creator economy or something wrong with your strategy? Right? So that's the way I look at it, where people want to like throw stones at the game, and then honestly, so it turns some of them like bitter and all these things, where they're just like, oh, you have to be a charlatan to succeed. You have to do all these gimmicks, and it's just like, no, you just have to write really good stuff and learn sales and marketing and exert a slightly above average level of effort, and you have to do it for a long enough time to get it to work. And I think, I don't know, another thing I wonder is just like, if people come equipped with like an intuitive sense for how the creator economy works, and like how, so like, for example, like little things, like if you go on the timeline and you see that everyone out, like, oh, most of the other content pieces on there are like aesthetically pleasing with like line spacing, it should just kind of click in your head like that you should do that. And I've noticed for some people it doesn't. We're like, or because like even like the very first blog post I wrote, it wasn't good, but I still understood, like, yeah, okay, like the post, it has to have a headline like explaining what the post is about. It has to have an introduction and a couple sections and a close. But then like I'll see some people post like, my cat Frida ran away, and like that's the headline of the post, and it's just like this gigantic wall of text with this rambling story, and like it literally does not occur to them that they shouldn't be writing stuff that looks that way. And so like a blind spot there. And I will admit, like, another admission that I'll make too is like, let's say for like my programs, right? So like I have programs that help creators scale their businesses. I don't accept everyone into my program. I will look at some people and I will kind of get a read on them, and I'll be like, I don't think I can get you results, so I'm not going to let you in. And so I'm cherry picking the students that I work with based on whether or not they've already exerted some level of effort, right? I usually don't like stop working with people who are like complete beginners. I would usually work with people who have a little bit of experience, or they either have like professional experience that from their careers that they can use. Like I'm not picking Jane Doe who says she has no clue what to write about and that she hasn't written a post in
Mm,
6 months to try to help her start a business, because I don't think she's going to be able to do it. So like
mm,
I have gotten to the point where I understand that, and the thing is like anyone can do it. It's not that they can't. It's just only like there just tends to be only that 20% that seem to be willing to, that get the 80% of the results. So I used to bump my head against the wall for the longest time and like try to convince and plead with everyone to get them to jump aboard. But like now it's gotten to the point where it's like, if you're not motivated, then I don't want to work with you. Like if
mm.
you're not already sold and predisposed to like wanting to do this, I don't want to work with you. And I feel like a lot of people should have a conversation with themselves and say like, do you want to do this because you want to do it, or because it's like the hot new shiny toy of the creator economy thing, right? Where I feel like a lot of people, they're like, oh, everyone's talking about this creator economy thing, therefore I should do it. It's like, no, I like making stuff. So it makes sense for me. Like, so a lot of people, some people aren't cut out to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah,
Their life would just be better if they got like a really good job doing something cool that
yeah.
they liked, and, use the excess money and bought index funds and got some real estate and you get rich that way. So like, I think that, a lot of people are like, oh, the anyone can succeed in the creator economy. It's for everyone. I don't believe that. And there's nothing wrong with whatever thing you decide to do in life. That's why I always tell people, do what makes sense for you based on what you're good at, what you and how you want to proceed. So like, I see a lot of people that like writing is like such a struggle. I don't like, why are you trying to be a writer if you don't like to write?
Yeah,
But why would you
yeah,
do that as a career if you literally don't enjoy doing it? You know what I mean? And it's strange that I find a lot of people who are in that situation. Like, I have a lot of friends who are full-time writers. Nearly 100% of them get pretty much 100% of them were naturally predisposed to writing. They like it. They had a tendency towards being prolific, and like it wasn't like pulling teeth to get them to write an article. And they also had an intuitive sense of like what it looks like, but they just needed some practice, and they had some talent. Like, I've honestly never had a student take off who wasn't already doing something before they ran into me. Like the people who have been the most successful, they were gonna be successful anyways. I just helped speed things up for them a little bit because I just knew some things they didn't. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people on Substack every day. I'm talking to people, look at their profile. Coming soon. Substack coming soon, coming soon, coming soon. I'm like, dude, publish, like, make something. Put something out there. But like, I'm scared of what? It's just people on a computer screen. So I feel like a lot of people
yeah.
get like too hung up on it. It's like, it's not that serious. Like, just post some stuff, man, and you'll be fine. You're not gonna die.
So I'm gonna ask you a bit about your tagline, which is I'm gonna read it. I help solopreneurs scale to 20K a month by landing clients that pay them 2,000 or more, by creating offers that convert and writing that attracts their ideal client. Okay, so why 20K a month? And why are you so confident of the number 20K a month?
I just think it's like the number that is achievable if you reorient the way that you start your business. Um, in the way you focus. Like most people, they go after low priced opportunities where the math on how they're going to make money just doesn't make a lot of sense. Where you're like, okay, if you have, if you're selling something for $100, then you want to even get to 10K a month with a $100 course, you're going to have to sell 100 people that course. Not just that month, every single month, right? And then if you do the math, that's only going to be a certain percentage of your audience that's going to take you up on that. Usually that's going to be a certain percentage of your email list. And then usually that email list is going to be a certain percentage of the actual traffic you're getting. And so you're looking at you're looking at having to build a pretty sizable audience in order to reach those income goals, right? It's like a lot of the people you see now who are pitching like, oh, just join the creator economy, just sell courses, blah blah blah, you'll get rich. They don't, not saying I'm doing it on purpose, what they fail to mention is that most of them started off doing done for you services or coaching and consulting at high prices because the math is just easier, right? So if you can get people to pay you $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month, or you're collecting chunks of payments of 5K at a time, 10K at a time, it's a lot easier. You can build a business that does those numbers, 10, 20K a month, where you are only working with a handful of people. And so like I learned this the hard way, really, because the way that I got to 20K a month originally was writing articles on Medium. I was publishing books, mainly those two, but like I had to do so much. Like at the height of my prime on Medium, I was writing 40 articles a month, 42,000 word long articles a month, 40 brand new
It's a
ones.
lot.
It's a lot, right? So if instead I would have just packaged up what I knew and either turning it into a coaching offer or went and did freelance work where it's like, oh, instead of doing a bunch of articles, you could have, like I have a student who, she has a client who pays her $5,000 a month just to write a couple articles a month, right? So there are certain companies, so it's like really, there's like a small percentage of people, whether it's your audience, whether it's businesses, who are willing to pay 5, 10, 20 times more than what everyone else is paying. And so if you build a business where you focus on helping those people, then you could reach your income goals faster. And I also like the number 20K because life gets better at 20,000 a month. That's like the number where like you can start to like spend a little frivolously. Like you can kind of, you can go eat dinner wherever you want and just kind of cover the bill. You can take a couple vacations a year. You can have a nice place to live. You can have a nice car, and you can still save money. So once you get to around 20K a month, it's kind of where like you start doing things where people, it's not normal, right? So I remember one time, I had some friends and they wanted to go golfing. And I'm like, oh, I don't have any golf clubs. And they were like, oh yeah, you could just use ours. That's fine. So I pulled up, I was like, nah, forget it. I'm going to start taking golfing seriously. So I just went to the store and just bought a set of clubs, and I showed up with them. And they were like, you just bought some golf clubs? It's like right now. I was like, yeah, you said we were gonna go golfing, right? They're like, what? Like, you just dropped hundreds of dollars on these golf clubs out of nowhere? I was like, yeah, what are you talking about? What's the problem? They're like, that's not normal. So there's like those like little just stories of like random things where I'm just like, I eat takeout, like I eat takeout every day. I don't cook groceries. I don't make food at all. I'll eat takeout every day. I have a maid that comes and cleans my place for me. I have I have someone who comes to do my laundry for me. Or so you like at those sorts of levels, you can do some of those things. Like you can start delegating out stuff that you don't want to do. You have extra breathing room to do things you like, right? You know, drive a nice little vehicle, right? Have a nice little place, nice stuff, camera equipment, TVs, laptops, all this stuff. And it's like, it's kind of that number where you can You can't be crazy with your spending, but if you get to like 20K a month, like you can live a decent life and like kind of take advantage of the things you want to have and also like the experiences you want to have, like travel or going to see shows or whatever. So I think that's a good. That's when I noticed personally that I started to feel like maybe I have a little bit of money. Is what I was getting at that point.
Mm. What's your day-to-day like?
That's a good question. So usually I wake up and I'll write for about 2 hours. So whatever it
What
may,
time?
I
What
might
time?
I might be writing an email to my list, social media content, stuff like that.
What time do you start the day? I'm just curious.
Usually, I usually wake up around 6 or 7. Then I kind of loaf around,
Okay.
kind of lazy getting on. It usually takes me like I've been trying to figure out how to shorten this, but it usually takes me like an hour to just get up and get out of my house. I like to go work at coffee shops. I don't work at home. I can't. I don't like it. So I go out to coffee shops and work. So usually get there around 8. Not right for like 2 hours. After
Okay.
that, I'll go check in my community, see if there's things students need help with. So I'll usually spend like a half hour doing that. Um, then for maybe like another 2 hours, I'll go online and engage with people, send them DMs and stuff, like trying to close clients. So like I do that. Like that's one way I close clients a lot. It's like reaching out to people, sending them messages and stuff like that. Then like in the afternoon, I may have things like I might have coaching calls with students, or I might have sales calls with somebody who wants to join. Um, so yeah, that's what it's like. And usually my days are about, I'd say probably about 6 hours long. Sometimes more though, 6 hours long. Sometimes 8.
Um,
Sometimes 10 or 12 if I'm a overdrive and doing a launch or something. But I usually like to keep that sweet spot of like the actual work I'm doing is usually about. I work a regular schedule. I'd say like 8 hours a day for sure.
what good habits help you succeed?
Let's see. Reading,
Okay.
huge. Like if you want to be a writer, you have to read a lot. It helps you understand different writing styles, gets you different information. And one thing you should do is like read outside of your niche, right? So like I didn't just read personal development books. I read books about um like pop psychology books. I read books on like probabilities and statistics, books about biology and evolution, history books, biographies of random people. Like so like if you kind of should read more fiction, but I don't. I'm gonna start reading fiction. I'm gonna start reading novels soon. But if you kind of like collide your brain, so like there's this quote. I think his name is Murakami or something like that. It's like if you read the same thing, to read the same things everyone else does, you're gonna think the same things they do. So I think like
Yeah, that Haruki Murakami. Yeah.
if everyone reads the same sort of like cookie cutter airport books, like Atomic Habits and Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, those are great books by the way. I read
Yeah.
both great books, but like you shouldn't only read those books. Like read stuff outside of those books, because that way you don't sound the same as everyone else. You need different sources of information. And so
Yeah.
I would read stuff from people like Nassim Taleb and like Charlie Munger, and like I would read like shareholders letters from Warren Buffett and corporate memos from Jeff Bezos, like all these random things that like other people probably aren't reading. And so that helped
Mm,
in like give me some ideas that or like a little ideas and style that was like a little bit unorthodox compared to what someone might
mm,
be doing. And I think that's also a big reason why I was able to stand out, because they were basically all just kind of like cloning the traditional self improvement topics and like writing style. And so I kind of like cross pollinated a bunch of different styles and kind of helped me stand out.
Great. So before we conclude, if somebody tells you I only have time, I'm a writer and only have time to really focus on one platform, one social media platform, what would you tell them?
If they're a writer, not gonna lie, I'm really feeling Substack right now.
Mm-hmm.
If they're
Okay.
brand new because Substack has like everything. It has a short form feed or a social media feed like Twitter. It has it has sort of like a blogging this article discoverability like Medium, and it has a newsletter function like ConvertKit. So it has like all of the things that you need in one place. And it's very user friendly. Like for those of you who are tech challenged out there, like it's pretty intuitive to learn how to use. Um, in all social media platforms, there's a life cycle of organic reach where if you go to a certain platform when it's newer, organic reach is higher, meaning that your stuff just gets distributed randomly for no reason. And then as platforms mature and algorithms mature, our organic reach tends to go down. And I still think Substack is on that upward trend of having discoverability and organic reach. Where like if you're a smaller account on Substack, you can just start posting stuff and like there is some level of ability for people to sort of just magically find it to where if you're on Twitter, like you have to engage with other accounts a lot to create fuel. Same thing kind of with LinkedIn. But yeah, I think, and especially like if you want to go the route where like you just want to write, well, your best chance if you just want to write, you don't want to go heavy into like doing coaching and consulting and all that is spend all your time on Substack, build a sizable audience over there, and start a paid newsletter, and you can get a paid newsletter at 10K a month, 20K a month. I've seen it. But you just want to dedicate all your energy to that and like really focus on mastering how the platform works. So I'd say if you're brand new, I really like it as a platform for new writers for sure.
Yeah. This is how we met, actually. It's
Correct.
Substack. Well, this has been great, Ayu. I learned a lot, and I'm sure many people who are listening or watching are gonna learn a lot from you. And thank you for your time. And I will see you on Substack. And for anyone who's listening or watching, thank you for joining us for another episode of Read and Write with Natasha. And until we meet again.